Think about the children you know. The ones who are described as easy. The ones adults point to and say, she's so mature for her age. He's so independent. She never really cries. He just handles things on his own. Now think about the adults you know. The ones who deflect every time someone asks if they're okay. The ones who disappear when things get emotionally heavy. The ones who say I'm fine so quickly, so automatically, it doesn't even sound like a real answer anymore. Here is what most people never connect. Those two people. They are often the same person. The easy child and the adult who cannot ask for help are not two different stories. They are one story. And today, we are going to follow that story from the beginning, through the science of how it happens, what it actually costs, and most importantly, what we can do differently. In most families, being easy is treated as a compliment. And I understand why. Parenting is relentless. It is physically and emotionally exhausting in ways that are genuinely hard to describe. So when a child stops fussing, stops crying, stops demanding, it feels like relief. It feels like success. Like something is going right. But I want to offer you a different lens today. Because what we call easy in a child is rarely about temperament. It is almost always about adaptation. The child who stopped crying did not stop because they stopped feeling. They stopped because somewhere along the way, their nervous system learned that expressing feelings did not reliably bring comfort closer. It sometimes brought discomfort instead. A dismissal. A distraction. A parent who visibly tensed up. And so, being the brilliant, adaptive little human that they are, they made an unconscious decision. The feeling still comes. But the expression of it, that gets managed, contained, kept private. And from the outside, this looks like maturity. It looks like strength. It gets praised. And the child, receiving that praise, learns to do it more. This is not a character flaw. It is not weak parenting. It is a completely understandable response to a pattern of small, ordinary, everyday moments that no parent ever flags as significant. But the research is clear. And it tells a different story about where this path leads. In the 1960s and 70s, British psychologist John Bowlby proposed something that was, at the time, considered radical. He argued that human beings are biologically wired for connection, not just in infancy, but across the entire lifespan. And that the earliest bonds we form, specifically with our primary caregivers, create what he called an internal working model. A kind of template. A deeply embedded belief system about whether the world is safe, whether people can be trusted, and whether our own needs are worthy of being met. His colleague, Mary Ainsworth, took this further. Through a series of now famous studies called The Strange Situation, she observed how young children responded when separated from and then reunited with their caregivers. What she found gave us the foundational categories of attachment we still use today. Secure attachment, anxious attachment, and the one we are focusing on today, avoidant attachment. The children who showed avoidant attachment were the ones who, on the surface, seemed the least bothered. When their caregiver left the room, they didn't cry much. When the caregiver returned, they often turned away. Didn't reach for them. Seemed almost indifferent. For a long time, researchers thought, well, these children are just naturally more independent. But here is what changed everything. When those same children were measured physiologically, their heart rate, their cortisol levels, their stress hormones, they were not calm at all. They were in full stress activation. Their bodies were screaming. Their faces were not. They had already learned, at 1 or 2 years old, to mask the signal, to suppress the reach, to appear fine while feeling everything. This is the child who becomes the easy child. And this is the neuroscience behind it. Here is how avoidant attachment actually builds. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a pattern. A repeating pattern of small moments that individually mean nothing, but collectively teach the nervous system something it will not easily unlearn. The child falls and cries. The parent, tired or distracted, says, "You're okay, that's not so bad." The child reaches out from across the room. The parent is on their phone and doesn't notice. The child tries to show something that upset them. The parent changes the subject. None of these moments is a failure. Each one, in isolation, is just Tuesday. But the nervous system is not learning from single events. It is learning from patterns. And the pattern that emerges from hundreds of these small moments is this. When I reach out with big feelings, the return I get is smaller than what I put out. The math does not add up. So the nervous system, in its extraordinary wisdom, adjusts. It stops sending the full signal. It learns to compress the emotional expression before sending it. To pre-edit the reach. To only show what will be received. And what gets received. Competence. Capability. Not needing much. I've got it. I'm fine. So that is what the child produces. Over and over and over. Until it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like identity. This is who I am. I am the one who handles things. I am the one who doesn't need help. I am easy. For a long time, the easy child is fine. More than fine, actually. They are high-functioning. Often high-achieving. They are praised for their self-sufficiency. They move through the world smoothly, efficiently, independently. Until something happens that the nervous system cannot contain alone. And something always does. It might be a relationship. A partner who keeps asking, "Why won't you let me in?" Who feels the warmth but also feels the wall. Who loves this person but cannot seem to reach them fully. It might be a crisis. A job loss, a health scare, a grief that doesn't resolve on its own. Something that genuinely requires another person. And this is where the cost of easy becomes visible. Because the adult who was the easy child often finds themselves completely unable to ask for help. Not unwilling. Unable. The words don't come. The reach doesn't happen. There is a physical discomfort around vulnerability. A sensation in the body that says this is dangerous, this will cost you something, you can handle it alone. And so they try. They manage. They white-knuckle through things they should not have to carry alone. They build a life that from the outside looks strong and capable and together. And from the inside feels profoundly, quietly, isolating. This is not inevitable. This is not a life sentence. But it is the destination of that early pattern, if no one interrupts it. Here is what I need you to hear before we get into the specifics. You do not need to have done everything perfectly. Your child's nervous system is not built on perfection. It is built on patterns. And patterns can shift. Even now. Even today. The most important shift you can make is this. Stop moving away from your child's emotional expression and start moving toward it. When they cry, instead of saying you're okay, try, "You're really upset right now. I'm right here." When they share something hard, instead of quickly reassuring them it will be fine, try, "I'm so glad you told me that. That sounds really difficult." When they ask for help with something they could technically do alone, instead of pushing independence, try, "Of course. I love when you come to me." You are not teaching dependency. You are building the internal model that says, "I am someone whose needs are worth meeting. I am someone people show up for. I am allowed to reach." The second shift is about what you do when they are at their worst. Not after they've calmed down. During. When they are crying and messy and inconvenient, move toward them. Sit with them in it. Your calm, steady presence during their emotional storm is not a reward for the storm. It is a lesson their nervous system is recording. When I am at my lowest, the people I love show up. I do not have to be okay before I am worthy of comfort. Absorb that in childhood, through hundreds of repeated moments, and it becomes a felt truth in the body, not just a belief in the mind. And that felt truth is what makes it possible, decades later, to reach for someone in the dark without being certain they will be there. To ask for help without the reach feeling like a risk. To be known, fully, by another person, and to let that be okay. I want to leave you with something. The easy child, the one who stopped crying, the one who handled things, the one who was praised for not needing much. That child was not strong. They were surviving. They were doing the most intelligent, most adaptive thing a young nervous system can do when its environment gives it a particular set of signals. They were protecting the relationship by making themselves smaller. And that was not a failure. That was love. Imperfect, unconscious, automatic love. But now you know. And knowing changes the question. The question is no longer, is my child easy? The question is, does my child feel safe enough to be hard sometimes? Does my child know, in their body, not just their mind, that all of them is welcome here? Not just the capable parts. Not just the cheerful parts. All of them. The crying parts. The needing parts. The falling apart on a Tuesday afternoon parts. If you are a parent watching this, I want you to know, you have not missed your window. The nervous system is not rigid. It is responsive. And every single time you move toward your child instead of away from them, every time you stay during instead of waiting for after, every time you say I'm glad you came to me, you are rewriting the pattern. One small, ordinary, completely unremarkable moment at a time. That is how avoidant attachment begins. And that, quietly, consistently, over time, is exactly how it ends. If this reached something in you today, share it with a parent who needs it. Leave a comment and tell me, did you recognize yourself in any of this? Because this conversation matters. And it continues. Until next time, be patient with yourself. Be present with your children. And remember that the most important work you will ever do happens in the quietest, most ordinary moments of your life.